Welcome or welcome back. Not really sure what else to say in an intro because if you've watched my video before, you know I don't really do intros, I just start talking. But we did finally surpass the 400 subscriber threshold, so I thought I'd try something new. No idea if this is gonna stick or not. I received a super nice comment and she told me my channel feels like therapy, which is accurate because I feel like I'm in therapy half the time when I'm talking to the camera, but I've never actually been to therapy. I just envisioned this is what it's like. Oh my god, look how cute she is. So for the majority of my life, probably about 90% of it, honestly, I had no purpose. I had no goals. I had no drive. I had nothing that I was really working towards for myself. I realized this when I was pretty young, but I had two excuses I always used as a crutch. One was that I had no control over my life. And the other one was I always had someone telling me what to do next, what I should be working towards. So instead of thinking for myself, I just kind of went with that. And like a true Asian household, I was always told what to work towards. You know, you're always told to work towards getting the straight A's, you're work towards passing all your classes so you can move on to the next grade, so that you can get into a good college. So for the first 12 years, grade school years, my goal was to just get to college. And for a while, I was able to trick myself into thinking college was the goal, college was something to work towards. But as I got closer to my senior year, and especially senior year, I realized I was coming to an end of my so-called goal. I think senior year was probably the first time I really had to face the fact that I felt like I had no purpose in life, that I didn't know what I wanted my purpose in life to be, because originally I was just telling myself, oh, college is the goal. But even if you get into college, you then have to be working towards something. There has to be a reason for you to be going to college. What are you going to be studying? What is the career path that you are trying to take? And I didn't have that. When I started thinking about what I wanted to major in, what did I want to be in college, I initially chose biology. And it was mainly because I kept hearing a lot of my peers around me talk about majoring in biology. So I figured I like science, I'm good at science, I'll just do that. But when my parents asked me what I wanted to do with that biology degree, I didn't have an answer. In fact, my answer was I wanted to be a nurse because I heard someone else say they wanted to be a nurse. I think them rejecting the idea of me saying I wanted to go into biology, nursing, stemmed mainly from them not believing me because I am not a nurse now. But at the time, I definitely felt like it was another moment where they were trying to like take my control, dictate my life, you know, in true teenage fashion. I think they understood that I didn't know what I wanted. But what they did in response also didn't help me. They told me to go into biochemistry because with biochemistry, there are all these different career pathways you can take. And while I agree, I did not necessarily want to take any of those pathways. But as I'd been doing my entire life up until that point, I just did what they told me to do. So I went off to college and I declared my major as biochemistry. And I just kind of hoped that something would come along, something that would interest me as I pursued this degree. The entire time I was in college, working towards this biochemistry degree, which I got, I would have this internal battle, I guess you could say. Every year it was, well, I have another year. I have another year. I have another year to figure things out. And every year, my poor academic advisor, he would question me, what did I want to do after school? What did I want to do with my biochemistry degree? And the thing was, it's like with biochemistry, you can do so much with it, but also so little. Like, I knew you could do so many different pathways, like medical, dental, pharmacy, research, but like, no one could give me an answer outside of those. And because everyone kept saying you can do so much with biochemistry, I just thought there were going to be more options. But no one could ever tell me what those other options could be. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe those were just the options and there was nothing else, but I didn't know that. Every year, my academic advisor and I would meet, and every year I would give him the same answer. I don't know what I want to do. And that's probably where I made one of my, I'm not going to say first, but it is where I made one of my mistakes. I had a friend who started out in biochemistry with me, and by the end of our freshman year, she had transferred out into English, I think, and now she's like in law school. But she recognized she wasn't a numbers person, she wasn't into the science, and she switched. And when she changed her major, I thought about it a lot, considering it didn't affect me and it wasn't my decision. Looking back, I probably was subconsciously trying to figure out if that was the right move for myself. But again, I would have been at the point of, well, if I'm not going to be majoring in biochemistry, what am I going to be majoring in? So I think I stayed with biochemistry to feel safe, because then I had something that I could say I was working towards. I could say I was working towards a biochemistry degree. And looking back, that's really, really stupid. And when I say that was one of my first mistakes, I mean that in the sense of not taking control of my life at that point and saying, I don't want to major in this. This makes me unhappy, and trying to find what would make me happy. And I think it was also difficult for me because I truly did enjoy science. Like, I took a lot of science classes. Ironically, I did end up adding a second degree. I double majored in biology with a human concentration, and I added 2 minors, and they were all science-based, forensic science and genetics. So literally everything is science-based, but I still couldn't find a degree that gave me a sense of purpose. So I spent 5 years in school working towards 2 degrees that I don't even use, 2 minors that I don't even use. Something that I wish I had done back then was push myself to take classes that I thought I had no interest in, really diversify the electives I took. Because even though I did enjoy the electives I took, they were all science-based. Because the electives and subject matters that I deemed weren't interesting or not me probably are the ones that would be most helpful for me today, like marketing, business, graphic design, maybe not graphic design, but like the more creative stuff. What's really funny to me is that the skill set that I use the most in my day-to-day life and my experiences that I pull from the most all stem from my experiences as an RA in college, a resident advisor. That's what I pull from the most, not my actual formal education. And without straying too much from the topic, I do think a big problem was me going into college not having any sort of idea of what direction I wanted my life to go to begin with, which I feel like is a general problem for a lot of teens, because I don't think college is bad per se if you have a sense of what direction your life wants to take. Of course, you can change it while in college, but if you have a direction you know you want to take, then I think it can be very helpful. For someone like me who had no idea, look at me now, I got the world's most expensive paperweights. I do also think college is a bit overrated these days, but that's neither here nor there. Fast forward to the end of my college years. So after my 5th year, I still have no idea what I want to do. I still have no idea what I want to do with my degree. I've essentially run out of time. I kept telling myself year after year, you have another year, you have another year, you have another year. Well, I ran out of years. A part of me did consider taking the easy way out, which was to continue school, apply for a master's program, because again, someone is telling me what to do. Oh, you go to a master's program, now you have a curriculum you follow, you got to take your classes to fill those requirements to get the degree. Oh, what do I do next? Well, I guess I can continue school and get my PhD. So that was one option. But at the time, I was fed up with school. I was over it. I did not want to go to school anymore. I was just done. I had applied to a job that I was qualified for. Long story short, I did not get it. Not because the person hiring didn't want me. There was just some behind the scenes HR stuff that was against me. But let's just say karma's real and that HR person got what they deserve. But that was when I decided to leave my home state. That is when I picked up my life and moved. And to this day, that is probably the best decision I have ever made for myself. One, I think that was probably the first real decision that I made for myself. So in that aspect, it is very monumental for me. But also the decision to move itself was very monumental, like the effects of what happened. And I have a great video on that. I think it's a great video. You should go watch it, on why moving was such a great decision, especially for someone like me who had no direction. Now, it did take 2 moves, so my first move to a state that I absolutely despise was not good. And I think it was because, I mean, I can blame it on a lot of things, but ultimately it comes down to I was unhappy, I did not cope well, and I didn't adjust well. So it comes back down to me. But I moved again to Texas with my husband, and that's when I hit my rock bottom. I said I need to make some changes in my life. I need to take control of my life, yada yada yada. I got a video on that if you want to watch it. And I didn't find a purpose in my life per se, but I quit feeling sorry for myself. Fast forward to now. I don't know if I've remedied the problem of I have no purpose in life per se, but I still feel silly saying this. Making these YouTube videos talking about my problems that I've had and finding people being able to relate to it has kind of become my purpose. And I say that because I mean it in a way of like I've discovered a purpose that I want to have is to help influence people. I don't want to be an influencer. I just want to influence people to be better for themselves, to be better for the community, be better for society. And if talking about my problems does that, then why not? Now, I know in this video, I have not really mentioned a quote unquote solution per se of what you should do if you feel like you have no purpose in life. I'm sorry if you thought that was this video. It was really more of I felt like I had no purpose in life and it's gonna be okay. You just gotta keep working on yourself and figure it out. And I hope you can relate kind of video. Making these videos for YouTube, hearing the handful of people tell me that they can relate, that they feel seen, that they feel heard, I guess in a way that's become my purpose for now. And it's honestly been really fulfilling when I get the comments saying, I feel heard, I feel seen, I agree with you, I relate to you. Because now not only do I feel not alone, I know someone else doesn't feel alone either. Growing up, I recognized that I never had a purpose, but it felt like everyone around me always knew what they wanted to be, knew what they wanted to do in life. And even if I couldn't figure it out, I just felt like I had no one to talk to. I felt like nobody understood where I was coming from or how I felt because everyone always had some sort of idea. And if they were just bullshitting themselves and trying to make themselves feel better by making themselves think they had an idea, well, they did a really good job because I thought they knew what they were doing with themselves. I felt very isolated, very alone, and I felt like no one understood me. I thought something was wrong with me because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, because I didn't know what I wanted to be or do. And everyone else seemed to know, because I'm pretty sure when I was like in kindergarten, preschool, and they ask you what you want to be when you grow up, I still didn't even know back then. So that probably should have been a sign. My face is starting to hurt from all the talking. So if you feel like you have no purpose, you don't know what you want to work towards, work for, you're not alone.